Before you ever meet the one, you will meet mirrors. These are the ones who enter your life to provoke, awaken, disturb, and stir the waters of your soul. They are not mistakes. They are necessary. They reflect the parts of you that are hidden from your view, the abandoned child, the insecure lover, the angry protector. These reflections are not always pleasant. They come in the form of lovers who do not stay, friends who betray, or relationships that burn. Why? Because before you can meet the one, you must meet yourself, and God, in His divine wisdom, sends people not to complete you, but to show you what is incomplete. Through them, your wounds are exposed. Your patterns are mirrored, your shadow is lit, and each encounter, though painful, moves you closer to the truth of who you are, and thus closer to the one who is meant to stand beside you, not as a rescuer, but as an equal soul. Before the presence of a soulmate can enter one's life, the soul undergoes a mysterious and often painful preparation. This preparation does not come through stillness or solitude alone, but through the people sent to mirror us, those whose presence reflects the aspects of ourselves we have long buried, denied, or misunderstood. These individuals are not your soulmate, and yet, without them, you would not be ready to receive your soulmate. They are like sacred messengers in disguise, sent not to stay, but to awaken something vital in you. You may encounter someone who sparks great intensity in you desire, jealousy, fear, longing, or even anger. And you may believe in the fire of that emotion, that this must be the one. But these individuals are often what we might call mirror souls. They are not the final destination, but milestones on the journey to becoming whole. Their role is not to complete you, but to show you what in you still aches for healing. They may come as lovers, friends, mentors, or even adversaries. And though their presence may be fleeting, the impact is lasting. God, in His infinite wisdom, uses these relationships to reveal your inner landscape. You may see how you abandon yourself to gain approval. You may witness how you chase love because you fear being alone. You may notice the ways you shrink your truth to avoid conflict, or the walls you build out of wounds you've never acknowledged. These people reflect your shadow, the part of you that holds pain, insecurity, and unclaimed power. Without these reflections, you might wander through life blind to your own patterns, unable to recognize what you truly need. The mirror effect is profound because it breaks illusions. You realize that the people who hurt you the most were not villains. They were teachers. They activated wounds you didn't know you carried, and in doing so, they gave you the opportunity to face yourself. And though it may feel like chaos, this is sacred work. The soul cannot merge with another soul until it has remembered itself. Sometimes you will confuse a mirror for a soulmate. The chemistry is real, the connection feels faded. But over time, the relationship unravels because its purpose was never longevity. It was transformation. And when it ends, you are left with a deeper knowing. You have peeled back a layer of your false self. You have become more honest, more awake, more prepared. Not for someone to fix you, but for someone who meets you in your truth. You will look back one day and realize, they were not the one, but they helped me find the one by helping me find myself. This is how God works, not with lightning bolts, but with echoes, not with grand gestures, but with subtle preparation. The divine knows that love must be met with readiness, and so, before you are introduced to your soulmate, you are introduced to yourself through others. These reflections may come wrapped in heartache, confusion, or even joy. But in every one of them, the divine is whispering, look, learn, grow, for what you heal in yourself you free in another. And when two people meet not to fill a void, but to share their wholeness, that is when the soul recognizes its match. And that journey always begins with the mirror. The path to meeting your soulmate does not begin with seeking them. It begins with seeking yourself. Contrary to popular belief, the soulmate does not arrive to complete you, but to reflect the wholeness you have already begun to embody. Until you become the person who is capable of recognizing and holding the depth of a sacred union, the presence of your soulmate may pass you by unnoticed. This is the paradox of love. You must become the version of yourself that your soulmate would naturally be drawn to, not through artifice or performance, but through genuine inner transformation. So often, people chase love as if it were a prize to be won or a missing piece to be found. They build personas to attract, strategize to be desirable, or perform roles they believe will bring them closeness. But true love does not respond to performance. It responds to presence. And the deepest kind of love, the kind that comes from the soul, can only find you when you are anchored in the truth of who you are. God, in His infinite wisdom, does not bring you your soulmate when you are still hiding from yourself. He brings them when you are beginning to walk the path of individuation, the journey of becoming uniquely and wholly yourself. This journey is not without hardship. It often includes seasons of solitude, confusion, and deep inner work. You may feel like love is being withheld from you, but in truth, it is being prepared for you. The process of individuation, the becoming of the self, is where the real magic happens. This is when you stop asking, "When will I find love?" and start asking, "Who am I, truly?" It's when you begin to heal the wounds of childhood, to release the need for validation, to speak your truth even when it costs you comfort. And as you peel back the layers of the false self, the one built for acceptance, you begin to remember the original self, the one who is not afraid to be fully seen. As you do this, something extraordinary happens. You begin to emit a new frequency. You begin to resonate from a deeper place of alignment, and in that place you become magnetic, not to everyone, but to the one who is meant for you. This is the alchemy of becoming. You do not find love by looking for it. You attract love by becoming the embodiment of it. It is said that the eyes through which you look at the world are the same eyes through which the world looks back at you. In other words, when you evolve, your perception shifts, and with it, so does your capacity to recognize who and what is meant for you. Your soulmate could already be in your life, but until you've done the inner work to truly see and receive them, they may appear as just another face in the crowd. You may have overlooked them 100 times because the part of you that was meant to meet them had not yet come alive. This is why timing matters, not because the universe is withholding, but because it is orchestrating. The right person at the wrong time can still feel wrong, but the right person at the right time arrives not as disruption, but as clarity, and you'll know them, not by the way they excite your ego, but by the way they calm your soul. So if it feels like you are waiting, wait actively, build, heal, grow. Create a life so aligned with your spirit that your soulmate doesn't rescue you from it. They add to it. Become someone who no longer needs to be saved, but someone who can walk side by side in mutual elevation. God does not delay love to punish you. He prepares it for the moment you are capable of receiving it without losing yourself. When that time comes, love will not be a search, it will be a recognition. And it will feel like peace. There are moments in life when something unexpected occurs, a strange coincidence, a chance meeting, a number or name that keeps appearing, a dream that feels more real than waking life. These moments are not random. They are what many call synchronicities, signs, signals, and sacred alignments that emerge from the unseen layers of existence. When it comes to meeting your soulmate, God often does not introduce them through dramatic entrances or thunderous declarations. Instead, He speaks in the quiet language of synchronicity. Synchronicity is the mysterious alignment of inner experience and outer reality. It is when your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, or dreams suddenly correspond with external events in a way that feels too meaningful to be accidental. And yet, these events often pass by unnoticed because they are subtle. They whisper, they do not shout. But for those with eyes to see and hearts to feel, these synchronicities form a trail, a divine breadcrumb path leading you toward the one your soul has always known. Perhaps you think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and within hours they message you. Or maybe you keep hearing a certain name, reading a book that mentions a place, then days later, you meet someone who is from there. These are not coincidences in the trivial sense. They are invitations, invitations to pay attention, to listen deeply, and to recognize that the fabric of reality is far more interconnected than it seems. When your soulmate is drawing near, or when you are being prepared to meet them, life starts arranging itself around this energy. Your dreams may become more vivid. You might feel a pull to go somewhere you would normally never go. You may start to see repeated numbers like 11, 11 or 2, 122, or encounter symbols that stir something ancient within you. A feather, a dove, a song from childhood. These symbols are not just pretty moments. They are mirrors of your unconscious signaling that something sacred is moving. You see, God does not operate by chance. Everything is placed with intention. The time you meet someone, the place it happens, the conversations that unfold, all of it is woven together in a tapestry that only makes sense when you stand back and look at the bigger picture. Your soulmate's arrival is often not a beginning, but a culmination, a convergence of divine timing, inner readiness, and spiritual alignment. It is a moment your soul has been quietly preparing for, even when your mind was distracted by other things. But here's the challenge: synchronicities do not scream. They require stillness. They require presence. In a world filled with noise and distraction, the voice of the divine can be drowned out. That is why developing inner awareness is so essential. The more in tune you are with your intuition, the more clearly you can hear the quiet nudges that guide you toward the people who matter most. When you begin to honor synchronicity as sacred rather than dismissing it as coincidence, your entire perception of life changes. You start to see that God is not somewhere far away. He is in the details. He is in the timing. He is in the pauses between events, in the people who cross your path at just the right moment, in the lyrics of a song that speaks exactly what your heart feels. The introduction to your soulmate may not come with fireworks. It might come in a seemingly mundane interaction, a missed train, a mutual friend, a moment so ordinary that it only later reveals its extraordinariness. You may not even recognize it at first. But over time, as the synchronicities continue, as the moments align, as the sense of recognition grows stronger, you will look back and see that every little sign was leading you here. Suffering is often misunderstood. It is seen as a punishment, an obstacle, something to escape from as quickly as possible. But in the deeper spiritual and psychological sense, suffering is not the end of the path. It is the beginning of awakening. And when it comes to love, especially the meeting of a soulmate, suffering is almost always part of the preparation. God, in His infinite wisdom, does not send your soulmate into your life when everything is perfect. He often sends them when you have been broken open, when the protective walls around your heart have started to fall and you are ready not for fantasy but for truth. The purpose of suffering is not to diminish you. It is to strip away everything that is false. The ego wants to control love. It wants to script the story, choose the timing, and avoid anything that feels vulnerable. But the soul longs for something deeper. The soul doesn't just want a partner. It wants connection, honesty, spiritual intimacy. And in order to receive that kind of love, you must first become someone who no longer hides from themselves. This process is rarely easy. Heartbreaks, betrayals, loneliness, rejection, these are the fires that refine you. You may wonder why a relationship ended that you thought would last forever. You may question why someone you loved couldn't love you back. And in the depth of that pain, you may even feel abandoned by the divine. But what if, in that exact moment, you were being drawn closer to what is real? Pain forces you to sit with yourself. It demands that you stop running. And in the quiet that follows suffering, something begins to shift. You start to notice patterns. You begin to see how you gave too much or settled for too little. You begin to realize where your love was coming from, a place of fear instead of fullness. These insights are not punishments. They are revelations. They are gifts, even if they come wrapped in sorrow. Through suffering, your heart is softened, your pride is humbled, your expectations are cleared. And in that sacred space, something new can emerge: openness, compassion, self-respect. You begin to love yourself not for what you accomplish or how desirable you appear, but simply because you exist, because you are worthy. And that is the exact moment when soulmate energy begins to move toward you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. A soulmate is not meant to heal your wounds for you. They are meant to walk beside you after you've begun healing them yourself. That's why God often allows you to meet false loves first, the ones who trigger you, the ones who abandon you, the ones who mirror your insecurity. Each of them plays a sacred role in awakening your self-awareness. Without those encounters, you might still be asleep to your deepest needs. When you look back, you will see that every heartbreak was actually a course correction. Every lonely night was a whisper to go inward. Every disappointment was God's way of clearing space for something more aligned. Suffering teaches you what kind of love your soul truly longs for, and what kind of love you must first give to yourself. So if you are in a season of pain, trust that it is not meaningless. It is part of the architecture of your future. The tears you cry are not wasted. They water the ground where something beautiful is trying to grow. And one day, when your soulmate arrives, you will not greet them from a place of desperation, but from a place of truth. You will look into their eyes and say, "I have known loss, but I did not lose myself. I became myself." In the mysterious unfolding of life, there comes a moment when you feel compelled to change, not because someone told you to, not because of external pressure, but because something deep within you whispers that it's time. This internal shift is not loud or dramatic. Rather, it feels like a quiet restlessness, a growing discontent with your current patterns, relationships, or even identity. You begin to sense that the life you've been living, while perhaps functional or even successful, no longer aligns with who you truly are. This inner calling to evolve is not accidental. It is a divine signal. It is often one of the ways God begins to align you with your soulmate. You may not realize it at the time, but when you start shedding old habits, distancing yourself from shallow connections, and prioritizing your inner growth, you are creating space not just in your schedule, but in your soul. Space for someone of depth to enter. Space for a sacred union to occur, not from need or loneliness, but from readiness. Transformation begins when you stop settling, when you stop pretending to enjoy things that exhaust your spirit, when you stop chasing people who do not see your worth. These decisions might seem small: unfollowing someone who triggers insecurity, saying no to a relationship that drains you, choosing solitude over superficial company. But they are monumental shifts. With every choice to honor your authenticity, you are broadcasting a new signal to the universe. You are saying, "I am ready for real. I am ready for truth." This process often involves a stripping away. You lose friends, your interests change, you may even feel lost for a while, floating between the old version of yourself and the one still being born. And yet, this in-between space is sacred. It is the cocoon stage, uncomfortable, uncertain, but essential. You are not who you used to be, and you are not yet who you are becoming, and it is precisely in this sacred void that something extraordinary is being prepared. God uses this time to recalibrate your soul. You might feel drawn to new books, new practices, or entirely new environments. You may start journaling, meditating, praying, or simply walking alone more often. These aren't just hobbies, they are tools for realignment. They bring you back to yourself, and the more you come home to who you truly are, the more your energy becomes a match for someone doing the same. Soulmates do not meet in chaos. They meet in alignment. And that alignment begins with one person, you. As you begin to clean up your inner world, to face your wounds, to honor your intuition, you become clearer about what you need, what you desire, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. And this clarity is magnetic. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. Many people try to manifest love while still living in environments that contradict what they truly want. They say they want depth, but they remain in shallow patterns. They say they want commitment, but they entertain temporary people. True alignment requires more than words. It requires action. It requires integrity between your values and your choices. And when you begin to live from that place of congruence, love no longer feels like something far away. It begins to feel inevitable. One day, perhaps without warning, someone will walk into your life and feel strangely familiar. They will not feel like excitement laced with anxiety, but like calm wrapped in wonder. And when they speak, it will feel less like meeting a stranger and more like remembering someone you have always known. And you will realize they did not appear by chance. They appeared because you answered the call to become who you were meant to be. There is a moment in life when everything changes, not because the world outside has shifted, but because something within you has grown quiet enough to hear the voice of the divine. It is a soft voice, often drowned out by fear, ambition, distraction, and noise. But when you finally begin to trust it, your life takes on a different shape. The final and perhaps most subtle way God introduces you to your soulmate is by teaching you to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. This is not the kind of listening we are taught in school or conversation. It is a deeper form of attunement, an inner sensitivity to energy, to knowing, to resonance. You begin to sense when something is right or wrong, not by rational analysis, but by the way it feels in your chest, in your breath, in the stillness of your spirit. You walk into a room and feel peace. You meet someone and your body relaxes even before words are exchanged. You are no longer chasing signs outside of yourself because the greatest compass has become your own inner knowing. This kind of spiritual discernment takes time to develop. It is not born of intellect, but of experience, of heartbreaks that taught you the cost of ignoring your gut, of choices that once seemed logical but led to spiritual exhaustion. You learn slowly and often painfully that just because something looks good, sounds good, or is approved by others doesn't mean it is meant for you. You also learn that the things that do align with your spirit don't always come with immediate clarity. They come with a quiet recognition that grows stronger with time. God often speaks through silence. And in that silence, He teaches you to trust what you feel even when you cannot yet see where it leads. This is especially true when it comes to your soulmate. They may not arrive with flashing lights or dramatic beginnings. They may come as a soft presence, a calm certainty. And if you are still addicted to chaos or drama or chasing love through the lens of your wounds, you might overlook them entirely. But if you've begun to listen, truly listen, you'll know. You'll know by the way your heart doesn't race in fear, but settles. You'll know by the way you don't feel the urge to perform or impress, because your presence is enough. You'll know by the way time bends around them, not rushing or dragging, but flowing naturally. Their soul will speak the same quiet language as yours, not because they are the same as you, but because they have listened too. They have followed their own divine nudges. They have trusted the invisible. And so, when you meet, there is no need for convincing, only recognizing. This is why listening is so essential. Without it, you live on the surface of life. You rely on logic, appearances, and opinions. You follow paths that look safe, not paths that feel right. And in doing so, you may walk right past the person who was sent for you, not because they weren't there, but because you weren't present enough to feel them. Listening in this spiritual sense is about surrender. It is about being humble enough to admit that your mind does not have all the answers, that your plans may not be aligned with your purpose. It is about saying, God, I am willing to be led. And then actually creating the silence necessary to hear the answer. And when you do, you begin to notice the subtle alignments, the timing, the conversations, the inexplicable ease. Your soulmate may not arrive when you expect them. They may not look like what you imagined, but if you have been listening, if you have followed the guidance that made no sense to your mind but perfect sense to your soul, you will be ready. And more importantly, you will be able to recognize them, not by the way they complete you, but by the way they reflect the completeness you have already discovered within yourself.